The tackle was brutal. Your head snapped back, stars exploded behind your eyes, and a sharp ringing filled your ears. But you shake it off. Get back up. Keep playing. 3 days later, you can barely concentrate. Your head pounds. You feel nauseous. But you never reported what happened because, honestly, you didn't think it was that serious. Here's the shocking truth. This scenario plays out thousands of times every weekend. New research just revealed the invisible epidemic plaguing rugby. 42% of community players have suffered unrecognised concussions, and 32% have intentionally hidden brain injuries from coaches and medical staff. But the most disturbing finding is still coming. Research on concussion non-disclosure has largely focused on elite and professional male players, yet community-level participants make up over 60% of all registered rugby worldwide. The critical gap? At grassroots level, medical access is limited and players, unlike referees and coaches, aren't required by World Rugby to complete concussion education. Whitmer and her research team suspected something was hiding in plain sight. Rugby has 28.3 concussions per 10,000 athlete exposures, the highest rate among all contact sports. But those official numbers only capture diagnosed cases. The bigger question: what's happening to the invisible injuries that never make it into medical records? Whitmer's team recruited over 1,000 community rugby players, the largest concussion study ever conducted at a grassroots level. The participant breakdown tells the story: 59% male, 41% female, average age 31.6 years, with an average of 10 years playing experience. These weren't teenage athletes making rookie mistakes. These were seasoned veterans who should know better. The methodology was rock solid, a validated injury questionnaire separating 3 distinct concussion types: diagnosed concussions that made medical records, potentially unrecognised concussions where players experienced symptoms but never connected them to brain trauma, and intentionally unreported concussions where players knew but deliberately stayed silent. Here's the detail that changes everything. 42% had zero medical support throughout their entire rugby career. No trainers, no physiotherapists, no professional oversight during the world's most concussive contact sport. The findings will shock every parent, player, and coach in rugby. 2/3 of community players have suffered diagnosed concussions. But that's barely scratching the surface. 42% have suffered unrecognised brain trauma, while a concerning 32% have deliberately hidden head injuries. Here's the pattern that should terrify everyone. Among players who hid concussions, 94% already had previous brain injuries. The very people who should be most careful are 7 times more likely to conceal future damage. But here's where it gets psychologically disturbing. Players with concussion history weren't just hiding injuries. 82% did not even recognise when they'd been hurt again. Another fascinating find is that males had 34% higher rates of not recognising their own concussions compared to females, and had 23% higher rates of not reporting brain trauma. The motivations reveal rugby's dangerous culture. 2/3 thought their brain injury wasn't serious. Half didn't even recognise it as a concussion. Nearly half refused to leave the current game. And here's the killer stat: 38% players with previous concussions stayed quiet specifically to avoid missing future matches. The implications demand immediate action across rugby's entire ecosystem. First, education emergency. World Rugby mandates concussion training for referees and coaches, but not the players actually absorbing the hits. This gap is creating a generation of walking wounded who don't even know they're injured. Second, medical reality check. When nearly half of participants had zero medical support, we're asking athletes to self-diagnose brain injuries in real time. The cruel irony? Concussion symptoms include confusion and impaired judgment, the very abilities needed for accurate self-assessment, let alone not even having the education to know what a concussion looks like. Third, the experience trap. This research demolishes the myth that veteran players are safer. Previous concussion creates a perfect storm, making you 7 times more likely to hide future brain injuries, while doubling your chances of missing them entirely. The researcher's prescription is clear: standardized sideline protocols, mandatory medical personnel, and culture change that rewards reporting rather than silence. But here's the bottom line that will save careers: treat every player with concussion history as high risk for dangerous denial. They're not just vulnerable to future brain damage, they're the least likely to recognize it and most likely to hide it. The next concussion you miss could be your last game that matters. This research comes from Unrecognized and Unreported Concussions Among Community Rugby Players by Rachel Whitmer and colleagues, published in Sports, Volume 13, Issue 8, August 2025. You'll find the full link and citation in the show notes. Sports is an open access journal published under Creative Commons licensing. Thanks for listening to Sport Science Decoded, where we take you from research to application in 5 minutes. If you enjoyed the show, please consider following. Sport Science Decoded is available on YouTube and all major podcast platforms with episodes every Wednesday and Friday. If you have a sports science paper you'd like us to break down in this format, email us. Details are in the show notes. And if you're with a journal or publication interested in research communication partnerships, we'd love to hear from you.